Hi, I'm Sam from Tarot for Writing. Welcome to the channel and welcome back if this isn't your first time. Today we're going to take a look at the King of Wands. This is part of a series I'm doing where I'm stepping through every single card in the tarot deck and sharing my thoughts about the card, about the meaning, about some details, and about how I would use them in my creative writing. This was inspired by Esther over at Mindful Tarot, and there's a tarot challenge that goes along with it, and I'll leave information about that in the description below. There's a fun Instagram hashtag you can follow if this is something that interests you, and you of course are welcome to join in as well. I've also created a playlist with all of the videos in this series that you're welcome to check out. So let's talk a little bit about the King of Wands. He is often referred to as the King of Kings. And elementally, we're dealing with two instances of fire. So he is the most creative, the most fiery of all the cards in the suit of Wands. But because of his experience as the king, that is tempered in some way. So we don't quite see the same outbursts as we see in the Knight of Wands, for example. The energy is a little bit more tempered. He's a little wiser, a little more responsible, which kind of brings us to the definition of the card. You know, he is a leader, someone who goes far in life, somebody experienced and very responsible. And I also kind of think of him as an energy of someone who is demanding the best from others, including himself. So if we're feeling this energy, you know, we kind of expect everybody to do their best, but at the same time we're showing up and doing our part, we're doing our best as well. Or maybe it just means that we need to show up for ourselves in this energy of giving it your all, drawing from all the experience we have gained so far when it comes to our creative endeavors, and showing up with a maturity that makes us think about what we're doing, but also with all the enthusiasm and fire that the suit of Wands warrants. The King of Wands is also often thought of as a card of honesty and fairness. And we can see that in the way the King of Wands presents himself on his throne, don't we? The detail that caught my attention today on the card is the King's clenched fist. So with one hand, he is holding his wand, and the other one is clenched in his lap. That kind of makes me think, it made me think of the other characters that we talked about already in the Court of Wands, the Page, the Knight, and the Queen of Wands, and how they all have fiery personalities. You know, this may not be as obvious in the King of Wands because he has that experience behind him, but at its core, I see this as a sign that he is impatient by nature. And sometimes that impatience breaks through. You know, he tries to rein in his temper, unlike maybe the Knight of Wands, because that's what a good leader does. And a good leader knows what he can and cannot expect from those around him. But it's not something that comes easy to him. You know, he wants to jump up and throw a tantrum or, you know, to tell somebody off. But because he is a good leader, he doesn't. But that doesn't mean that it comes easy to him. And I thought that was kind of interesting because, you know, so often we're in that same position. And I don't know about you, but I have a tendency sometimes to expect too much of myself. I'm harder on myself than anybody else around is about me. So being so hard on myself and expecting so much it's easy to feel like I'm not showing up fully in my creative endeavors. Maybe I'm not writing a book as fast as I expected. Maybe I am not creating a story that is as gripping as I would have imagined it. Maybe I feel like I'm not doing a particular character justice because I am so critical of myself, and because I expect nothing short of perfection from myself. So seeing that even the King of Wands, the King of Kings, is struggling is kind of nice in a way, you know? It kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off that we don't have to give everything 100% all of the time. And yes, I know that's not mathematically possible, but that we don't have to show up and give everything 100%. That it is okay to struggle. Not everything has to come easy. And often, you know, the projects where we have to struggle the most, the ones that have us clenching our fists and doing everything we can to rein in our temper and not throw the computer through the window or whatever it is that is giving us a hard time, those end up being the ones that are the most rewarding in the end, the ones that mean the most. So that was the detail that caught my attention today. So let's talk a little bit before we wrap this up about how I would use a card like the King of Wands in my fiction writing. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about he, him, that kind of thing. But really I'm just referring to the archetypal energy of the King of Wands. The King of Wands could be a card that I draw for a female character as well, who shows up with those kind of energies and tendencies, you know, like being a good leader. So first and foremost, when I'm developing a character and I pull the King of Wands card, you know, that tells me this is a natural leader, somebody with experience. Maybe he or she is an executive at a company, or maybe they are someone who steps up and takes charge in the local community. You know, maybe they run for mayor, or maybe they take over a charity or plan some sort of important event. In whatever capacity, they're stepping up and they're taking on that leadership mantle. And it also makes me think of somebody with a deep sense of responsibility. And that would be kind of interesting to then step back and think about what in this character's background could have caused that. So, you know, not everybody becomes a natural leader. Did they have to take care of things when they were young? Did they have to take care of a parent? Were they just always active in school council, or, you know, being just the leader in their friend group, that kind of thing? What in their background brought them to the point where now they are the character in the story that takes charge, that takes on this role of leadership? And it also makes me think of, again, a military person. In this instance, specifically because we're talking about a king character, I would imagine that this is somebody that is fairly high ranked. So we're talking about an officer in one of the branches of the military here. Or, you know, if I am pulling this card while I am working on a chapter, or I'm fleshing out the stories, the ideas for a story for a novel, this could make me think about somebody who's being pushed into a leadership role. Maybe they didn't start out that way, but that is part of their character arc, or that is part of what needs to happen in this particular moment for them to grow, for the relationship to grow, for whatever purpose the story needs. It could be about having to step up, or it could also prompt me to write a little bit more about somebody struggling with a new role that includes more responsibilities. Because I imagine when the king first stepped up on this throne, it didn't come easy to him, and I'm sure he had to clench his fist a whole lot more often than he does now. It also makes me think of having somebody get a promotion, maybe an unexpected promotion, or somebody being offered a new job, new responsibilities there. So that could, put a fun twist on any kind of story, really. And then looking at the salamanders in the King card, we talked a little bit about them in the Knight of Wands cards and how they did not form a complete circle there. Here with the King, they do. So this makes me think of crafting an experience for one of my characters where they come full circle on something. Maybe they are returning home after a long time away, and they're coming back to step up and take care of the person who used to take care of them, that kind of an experience. And then again, going back to what it must feel like to be on this pedestal, to be on this throne. I had two ideas there. The first is, maybe the person or somebody in my story is feeling overwhelmed with responsibilities. As a result, maybe they're lashing out, maybe they're shutting down, maybe they're stepping away from love and a relationship that they don't think they can do justice while learning to deal with these new responsibilities. And then the second idea was kind of inspired by the throne and this little pedestal that the throne is standing on. So what if we have one character in the story, and I'm a paranormal romance author, so romance is always top of mind. So what if we have one partner who puts the other one up on a pedestal? And what if this second person is not enjoying this, or doesn't know how to deal with it, doesn't appreciate it, doesn't think that is a good basis for a healthy relationship? What kind of dynamic could that create? What kind of tensions and conflict can we develop from that? And then, of course, since this is romance, how can we work towards a resolution where these two people can find their happily ever after? Two easy options are either, one of them raises the other one up, pulls them up on the pedestal with them, or the other person steps down and their partner realizes that at the end of the day, they are a beautiful, normal person with faults, somebody who makes mistakes, but who is more lovable and more real all the same. So those are my thoughts on the King of Wands. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and come back for the next video in this series where we step into the Suit of Cups. I will see you then.